वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच योगस्य लक्षणं वक्ष्ये सबीजस्य नृपात्मजे मनो येनैव विधिना प्रसन्नं याति सत्पथम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच योगस्य लक्षणं वक्ष्ये सबीजस्य नृपात्मजे मनो येनैव विधिना प्रसन्नं याति सत्पथम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच योगस्य लक्षणं वक्ष्ये सबीजस्य नृपात्मजे मनो येनैव विधिना प्रसन्नं याति सत्पथम्. So today we are reading from third canto, chapter 28, the first verse. This chapter is called, we'll see the name, Lord Kapila's instruction on the execution of devotional service. So the first one, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the personality of Godhead said, Yogasya, of the yoga system, Lakshanam, description, Vakshaye, I shall explain, Sabijasya, authorized, Nipa Atmaje, O daughter of the king, Manaha, the mind, Yena, by which, Eva, certainly, Vidhina, by practice, Prasannam, joyful, Yati, attains, Sat Patham, the path of the absolute truth. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the personality of Godhead said, My dear mother, O daughter of the king, now I shall explain to you the system of yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. Now I shall explain to you the system of the yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. By practicing this system, one can become joyful and progressively advance towards the path of absolute truth. Once again, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear mother or daughter of the king, now I shall explain to you the system of yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. By practicing this system, one can become joyful and progressively advance towards the path of the absolute truth. Purport by His Divine Grace. The yoga process explained by Lord Kapila Dev in this chapter is authorized and standard, and therefore these instructions should be followed very carefully. To begin, the Lord says that by yoga practice, one can make progress towards understanding the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the previous chapter, it has been clearly stated that the desired result of yoga is not to achieve some wonderful mystic power, one should not be at all attached by such mystic powers, but should attain progressive realization on the path of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, which states in the last verse of the sixth chapter that the greatest yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself, or he who is Krishna conscious. It is stated here that by following the system of yoga, one can become joyful. Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead, who is the highest authority on yoga, here explains the yoga system known as Ashtanga Yoga, which comprises 8 different practices, namely Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. By all these stages of practice, one must realize Lord Vishnu, who is the target of all yoga. There are so called yoga practices in which one concentrates the mind on voidness or on the impersonal. But this is not approved by the authorized yoga system as explained by Kapila Dev. Even Patanjali explains that the target of all yoga is Vishnu. Ashtanga yoga is therefore part of the Vaishnava practice because its ultimate goal is realization of Vishnu. The achievement of success in yoga is not acquisition of mystic powers, which is condemned in the previous chapter, but rather freedom from all material designations and situation in one's constitutional position. This is the ultimate achievement in yoga practice. Once again, translation. The personality of Godhead said, "My dear mother, or daughter of the king, now I shall explain to you the system of yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. By practicing this system, one can become joyful and progressively advance towards the path of the absolute truth." So here again there is continuation of the instruction by Lord Kapila to his mother Devahuti. The name of the chapter is Lord Kapila's instruction on the execution of devotional service. The chapter begins by the Lord summarizing that this chapter is very, very important. This chapter will help us to increase our concentration of the mind on the supreme absolute truth, which for us, the instruction that are given in this chapter will help us to increase our concentration of the mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna or any aspect of Krishna. Prabhupada also describes, just to summarize the purport, about the Ashtanga Yoga, which is the 8 steps where there is do's and don'ts, and then there is physical exercise, and then there is breathing exercise. Lord Kapila also speaks here about the breathing exercise and how the asana and pranayam, they help to pacify the mind, and that also helps to increase the concentration of the mind. It is more of a mechanical way. Srila Prabhupada describes in the Nectar of Instruction, the mind can be controlled by focusing on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Mechanical way of the mind control is pranayam, and devotional way of mind control is Prabhupada says many things. One thing he says, one way to control the mind is how to always one may engage the mind in thinking how to always spread the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Another time Prabhupada says is by focusing on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Another time Prabhupada says is by hearing about Krishna and then remembering what one has heard about Krishna. That also helps to control the mind. So ultimately, the goal is to always remember Krishna and to never forget Krishna. Ashtanga yoga is a mechanical process, so gradually it also helps us to attain Vishnu. because after asana pranayam, then there is pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. Then there is dharana, dhyan, and samadhi, which is increasingly meditating on the Paramatma. There are many kinds of yogis, and Prabhupada brings out from sixth chapter the last verse, which says that best among all the yogi is one who always remember Krishna within the core of his heart. That is, one who can fix his mind on Krishna is the best among all the yogis. This is what where the sixth chapter concludes. But yet the instruction given in this chapter, they really are also relevant to all of us as bhakti yogis. Like Kapila Muni, in future verses, Kapila Muni speaks about worshipping the lotus feet of one spiritual master, by eating frugally, by not becoming violent on others, by control of the senses. So many principles Kapila Muni gives, and he says by practicing those principles, one can increase one's concentration of mind. And that is very much relevant to us as bhakti yogis, because naturally, when we become violent on others, we will lose our concentration. Um, it will become the concentration will become very vague. We cannot focus. And even if we try to focus, the mind will go here and there. Same with overeating will make the mind lazy. Um, and um, when the senses are not controlled, then the mind will deviate from remembering Krishna, which is, I mean, for many of us, we completely disqualify in these cases of frugal eating and control of the senses and non-violence. But the principles that Kapila Muni explains are very relevant. Especially the next 5-6 verses speaks about various principles, which devotees will describe in more detail. How to increase our concentration of mind. Now, um, we have heard from the scriptures that the concentration of mind on Krishna can be on the name of Krishna, can be on the form of Krishna, the form of Radha Gopijana Vallabha, the form of Nitayapati Pavan Gaurahari, the lotus feet of Krishna, can be on the qualities of Krishna, like Jananivas Prabhu was describing when he was here in the Bhagavatam class he gave. He said one can meditate on qualities of Krishna, and then he became very much absorbed. And he said one of the quality of Krishna is that the Krishna's lotus feet are very soft. And Krishna's lotus feet are so soft that when he walks on the grass are very soft. And when he walks on the grass, then there are red lines on the lotus feet of Krishna because of stepping on the grass. That much soft is the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is one. So remembering on the qualities of Krishna. One of the quality of Krishna is Krishna's beauty. One of the quality of Krishna can be Krishna's flute. So there are various qualities of Krishna. And then on a very advanced stage, on pure devotional platform, one can also meditate on the pastimes of Krishna. To be able to focus or to be able to concentrate the mind on any of the features of Krishna requires us to become free from offenses. To the extent we are free from offenses, I mean, there are two aspects. One aspect is our own progress, which is gradual. It always, like, maybe first few years will go, or maybe in the beginning, it always it progresses. It goes more and more deeper. In the beginning, when we try to hear the holy name of Krishna, it is very difficult, and mind is going all over the place. And if you are practicing for some time, for some of you, not me, it may be possible that when you chant the holy name, you can hear the vibrations, you can focus on the vibration. Then as you spend some more time in Krishna consciousness, then you may be able to meditate on the form of Lord Krishna or form of Lord Chaitanya or any of their associates. So this will help the concentration to go more and more deeper. So one aspect to be able to concentrate is, two things I wanted to say. One is our own, our own purity of the heart. Um, as we become more and more pure, the holy name that we utter becomes more and more pure. We cannot uh, chant pure name until the heart becomes pure. To the extent heart becomes pure, the holy name become more absorbed. Like today we read a quote from Srila Prabhupada, the quote of the day, and Prabhupada was mentioning the revelation in our spiritual life is dependent upon one's own spiritual advancement, and the holy name reveals us more and more. So wherever we are, in whatever state of Krishna consciousness, in whatever state of absorption we are in, that state of consciousness is very, very satisfying. Whatever our state of holiness, that is very pleasing to us. But sometimes when we make some mistakes, then our concentration will fall back. Um, Making some mistake can be circumstantial, making some mistake can be intentional. Some are just mistakes and some are more of offenses. Some mistakes are like a slip of a tongue, like we say something, make a comment, um, 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 or unable to tolerate the demand of, say, anger, violence. So these are like we don't want to, again, the service of Krishna is in the center, but just time, place, circumstances, or we may um, uh, maybe give some service to devotees and they feel bad about getting the service. I mean, it can be so many reasons. Just as a part of being a part of an organization, there are many things that may happen that may hamper our absorption in the holy name. At those places, in those circumstances, one should try to tolerate. Even the chanting always goes in phases, up and down. One should try to tolerate, one should try one's best to focus on the holy name. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the recommendation to get up early in the morning, to turn off the lights in the room where you cannot see anything. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says you can also put a cloth around your eyes so that the senses are not active. And if it is pitch dark, you cannot see anything anyways. And then try to utter softly the holy names of Lord Krishna and try to listen. When there is no other factor, no other disturbing factor, try to hear, try to absorb. Even if we, like as I said, the holy name for many of us goes in phases. No matter what our current state of consciousness is, um, tolerate what happens, whatever happens, and then try to hear, try to hear, try to hear, try to focus on the holy name of Lord Krishna. The more we are able to hear, the more we put our full attention in the holy name, the more quickly we will make advancement. One should set aside a good amount of time in one's daily life and center oneself in sadhana. Many times it is also seen when devotees they for the sake of service or their own schedule or whatever reason, if they're not able to spend solid isolated time for their sadhana, then um, um, the consciousness degrades. Then one may become angry more quickly. One's material desires will increase. One will not be very attentive in dealing with devotees. One's service attitude will not be appropriate. And then all these fallback things happens. Recently, Yugal Kishore Prabhu, he sent this. Um, I also received Anand Vrindavani Mataji from Mayapur, and she was very much focusing on service. She was serving in the Nam Hatta Center, trying to spread the glories of the holy name. Many preaching activities, very absorbed, and she became so busy that she did not had much time to focus on her sadhana. And then later on, she realized she was thinking that by properly being engaging in my services, the holy name, I'm not able to absorb in the holy name today. But maybe because of whatever I am doing at one point of time, the holy name absorption will come automatically. But then she realized that it was not a very good understanding. It's just that one did not spend sufficient isolation time with the holy name. One time, Madhav Prabhu, the singer who sings the Kirtaniya, he was mentioning, quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur, until one is really, really trying to focus on the holy name will not advance. That's why in our ISKCON temples we have dedicated time where nothing else should be done other than focusing on the holy name. Then another thing that that was very nice, I was recently reading. I would like to share a little bit about it. Is the offense that was committed by Sobari Muni. It is very nice, actually. It is described that Mandhata was the king of the seven continents. He was ruling the whole Earth planet. He was the son of his son was Maharaj Ambarish, and he had three sons and he has 50 daughters. One of the son was Ambarish Maharaj. Another son of King Mandhata was Maharaj Muchukunda, and Kutakasha, there was one more son. And Mandhata, King Mandhata had 50 daughters. Mandhata was also very devotional. And Ambarish Maharaj, we know the glories of Maharaj Ambarish. We know the glories of Maharaj Muchukunda, who actually saw Krishna face to face, Muchukunda Maharaj, and attained the spiritual kingdoms. Ambarish Maharaj, pure devotee. Um, so this also shows the glories of Mathura, that how this is Sati Yoga story, the story of Durvasa Muni, Ambarish Maharaj, Mandhata, Saubari Rishi, Sati Yoga. And at that time, Saubari Muni, actually when I was hearing more about Saubari Muni, my conception of Saubari Muni changed. Because I always used to think Saubari Muni is like, one of those artificial yogis, or like Ashtanga yogis, who is trying to concentrate or do a lot of austerities, and their path is not really pure bhakti, but their path is more of tapasya, and through tapasya, there are other paths described, and not in our line. So I used to think about Saubari Muni like that. But recently, when I was going through one of the chapter from Garga Samhita, then there is a conversation between King Mandhata and Saubari Rishi. And King Mandhata, later on, after all his 50 daughters were married to Saubari Muni, Saubari Muni was actually a very advanced devotee. King Mandhata asked Saubari Muni to say something about the glories of Yamuna. And Saubari Muni says to Mandhata Maharaj that by seeing Yamuna, all one's sins are eradicated. Yamuna emanates from the shoulder of Lord Krishna. Yamuna is where Lord Krishna performs his eternal pastimes with the cowherd boys and all other associates. by offering prayers and by taking of Mother Yamuna, one can transcend to Golok Vrindavan. That is the perfectional stage of life. So these were the words coming from Sobri Muni. And when I was hearing, I was like, oh, Sobri Muni is actually a devotee. And Sobri Muni himself was trying to this is Sati Yoga. Krishna has not appeared. Krishna came in Dwapar Yoga. And Sobri Muni is taking shelter of Yamuna, performing austerities and performing devotional service and remembering the Lord. Otherwise, how can he describe the glories of Yamuna connected to Lord Krishna in Satya Yoga? Sobri Muni was so advanced. I mean, because he was living in water, his whole skin was slackened. You know, somebody goes in water for even few hours, the skin becomes soggy. So his whole skin was like old age, soggy skin, and because he was agitated by the fish, it's just an incident where he has such mystical powers also apart from the knowledge he has. Um, he could transform his body into very beautiful being. I don't know how many of us can go from old age to youth. He created so many palaces, and when Mandata, when he saw the palaces after Mandata's daughters were married to Sobri Muni, when Mandata was visiting his daughter, when he saw the palaces, he was humbled. It is described, Srimad Bhagavatam describes Mandata had some prestige for, being a great king and great opulence. And when Mandata saw the opulence of Sobari Muni, he felt himself very insignificant compared to the opulence in the palace of Sobari Muni. So just couple of points that Prabhupada brought very nicely in that Sobari Muni concentration on remembering the Lord in whichever way he was practicing devotional service, he lost it. And Sobari Muni's material desire increased, and he was agitated by seeing the mating of a fish. There, one of the purport in the ninth canto, Srila Prabhupada mentions, Garud, Sobri Muni did not try to offend Garuda. Sobri Muni has some powers. Sobri Muni wanted to use his powers in the right direction. He didn't even want to artificially display his power. He wanted to remember the Lord. Sobri Muni, when he saw the fish was under danger, Sobri Muni felt his duty to help the fish. Sobri Muni was not trying to harm anybody. He wanted to help the fish from dying because the fish came and took shelter of Sobri Muni. Please help me, you are a great sage. I am in danger. So it's like, there are two completely different angles to it. So if we see from his perspective, he was thinking he is doing the right thing by giving protection to the fish. But then Prabhupada says, but Garuda was offended. And Garuda was offended because um, Prabhupada uses the line that he tried to stop the activities of a devotee. When Garuda was about to eat the fish, my spiritual master says, if Garuda eat the fish will go back to Godhead. So when Garuda was about to liberate, Garuda is an eagle. So it's natural for him to eat snakes and fishes. So when Garuda was about to eat the fish, Sobri Muni wanted to protect. Because he obstructed the activities of a great devotee, Garuda was unhappy. Garuda was displeased. And because Garuda was displeased, Sobri Muni lost his concentration of mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his material desire increased. And when Sabri Muni was going through the effect of the offenses, and when he was married also, very soon Sabri Muni realized um, that I am not happy, I am not satisfied. I was way more satisfied by remembering the Lord, way more satisfied in my austerity. So Prabhupada says, when somebody is experienced or is developed in spiritual advancement, then they cannot be satisfied by material opulence. Only those who are very attached and who are ignorant to the signs of Krishna consciousness can be attracted to material opulence. Sabri Muni has material opulence on his fingertips, but he was finding satisfaction. And another way it can be seen is the reaction that Sabri Muni was going through, the suffering that he went through as part of the reaction. That tenure of the suffering was over. And when that was over, then Sabri Muni again regained his original state of consciousness of deep absorption. And when he became absorbed again, then he took vanaprastha. And it is said that he went back to Godhead. He perfected his life. Usually, we only hear about Sabri Muni's one aspect, which is very instructive. And Sukadev Goswami is describing that aspect that one has to be very careful with Vaishnava Parada. So likewise, when it is a mistake that we do in our Krishna consciousness, we may also lose some aspect of our concentration. Then we must tolerate, by the power of the holy name itself, whatever, if it is not intentional, if we feel any difficulty in our holy name, try to focus on the holy name. By the power of the holy name, whatever impediments are obstructing us in our absorption will be removed. By trying to focus on the holy name, any obstacle will be removed, and then we will regain our absorption in holy name. Okay, so that's all I have today. If there is any discussion, we can take now. Anything anybody wants to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, thank you for sharing the details about Sabri Muni's pastime. As you said, really, it was very enlightening because only one aspect was known. I'm very grateful to you, Prabhuji, for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. I was also thinking he actually did not really intentionally wanted to offend Garud. He was trying from his side to give shelter to a fish, because fish approached him, and that created a havoc in his life, maybe for a short time. Another thing, go ahead, Mataji.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Actually, when you were mentioning this, Prabhuji, it just trickled a thought in my mind that it is it becomes difficult at times to really understand our action. We may be thinking, I may be thinking my action is correct, but it's very complicated. In the end, it is hurting a devotee. It is especially a pure devotee. But then another thought came, anyways, we don't do so much interaction. So better to stay away. Both, Prabhuji, it was like just a passing thought that we have to be so careful in every action of ours, because we may be thinking, I am doing the right thing from my brain, but it's not right. Like how you explained, right? Because it was a pure devotee. Garud is a pure devotee and he got offended. He did not like it. Had he eaten the fish would have gone back. So that's deep to me, difficult to understand in that moment.
Excellent. Yeah, this is the point actually that I wanted to bring out. Is it's not necessary that we are really trying to offend. Um, it's just we may be using our best intelligence to do the best thing, but if it hampers the desire of, if our activity hampers the desire of a devotee, I would not necessarily say pure devotee. Yes, if it hampers pure devotee, reaction will be way more severe. But if it hampers the desire of a devotee, there will be reaction, even though we are using our best intelligence. One more reflection I have on this is, many times what happens is our chanting goes in up and down. When we are very good in our holy name, pride comes. Like we think like we are doing good. And we may also seek some material benefits from our sadhana. That becomes the cause. Krishna orchestrates situation in our life in such a way that we end up making mistake. That's why I see my spiritual master always emphasizing on humbleness, because humbleness will hold the mercy. Pride is like a hole, then we just lose the mercy. Ultimately, our absorption is based on mercy of Krishna, and everything is under the control of Lord Krishna. If sometime, I mean, just I was thinking about, like, depending on Krishna, sometimes when we make a mistake, when we become, say, emotions like anger and others, um, that also Krishna takes away the intelligence. Krishna makes us go through that. Krishna wants that. Why? Because our consciousness was not very much proper to receive the mercy of the Lord.
Excellent point, Prabhuji. Uh, Humility holds and pride makes a whole. Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay. Maybe if devotees give me 1 minute, I'll read something very quick just on what I was saying. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks this from Srila Prabhupada purports 9 Canto Bhagavatam. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Saubhari Muni had fallen from his austerity because of a Vaishnava aparadh. The history is that when Garuda wanted to eat fish, Saubhari Muni unnecessarily gave the fish shelter under his care. Because Garuda's plan for eating was disappointed, Saubhari Muni certainly committed a great offense to a Vaishnava. Because of this Vaishnava aparadh, an offense at the lotus feet of Vaishnava, Saubhari Muni fell from his exalted position. One should not therefore impede the activities of a Vaishnava. This is the lesson we must learn from this incident concerning Saubhari Muni. So Prabhupada is telling this is the lesson we must learn, and he says one should not impede the activities of a Vaishnava. In other words, when we are trying to fulfill Vaishnava's desire, great. When with whatever intelligence we may have, when we try to impede a Vaishnava's desire, there is a problem. I'll tell you something, keep it very confidential, please. This is something that Vrindavan Prabhu told me very confidentially. I asked him, Prabhu, tell me something about Vaishnava Prad that you have seen in your life. You all know Vrindavan Prabhu who came and spoke about glories of Maharaj. I was connecting this to Saubhari Muni's incident. He said, one devotee, Prabhu did not give the name. I don't know the name. I don't want anyone to meditate on the name. A real story. His Holiness Sadhana Swami Maharaj, he made a temple in GV. Very beautiful deities. I think their name is Radha Vrindavan Bihari. Maharaj wanted to have another temple. So he wanted to have Madan Mohan Dev. He wanted all the 7 Goswamis temple. When I visited GV, devotees were telling Maharaj will bring deities in all the 7 temples. So Maharaj had a desire that he wanted to have Radha Madan Mohan to begin with. So now in GB there are two temples. There is Madan Mohan, full-size deity, big Madan Mohan Dev, very beautiful, with Lalita and Radharani, just like they are manifested in Karoli in Jaipur. And before that, there is a temple. There is a Radha Vrindavan Bihari temple. One devotee, he told Maharaj, he questioned Maharaj, Maharaj, what is the need of two temples? Where do we get so many pujaris, so much services, so many offerings? So he was kind of like impeding the desire of Maharaj, which was to have another temple to begin with. Maharaj's desire was six Goswami's temple. This is Prabhupada's desire. And Prabhupada said he left. So I was just thinking, impeding the activities of a Vaishnava. In terms of logic, in terms of reasoning, in terms of practicality, everyone may have their own reason, but not to impede the activities of Vaishnava. If Vaishnava have a desired support, rather than impeding and creating obstruction, let Vaishnavas be pleased. I hope I clarified the point. Okay. Does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mataji
Very nice, very nice class, Prabhuji. So sometimes we hear Prabhuji, they say, whatever activity you do, what are your intention behind the activity? So in this case, seems like ceremony, his intention was good, like you were narrating. So in our life, how do we know how to
Very good question. My experience, I mean, I should not say a bold statement here, but even if with a good intention we displease a devotee, there is a reaction. At least that is what my experience is. And another way to put it is many times we don't even know how pure our intention is. Many times our intention is also mixed. There may be some envy in the heart, and there may be some valid reasoning also. And many times our mind and our intelligence also tricks us in the name of good intention. So it is actually really complex. So I feel like best is to try to keep pleasing devotees.
Thank you, Prabhuji. You explained very nicely. Intentions are mixed, yes. Not pure.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I ask you one question?
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Prabhuji, for example, Radha Yatra, we are in dosa stall. Okay, so dosa stall, the devotee, non-devotee, all the people who are coming to the Radha Yatra, they need to pay and they need to come and stay in the line. So we have to give dosas to them who paid. It was a huge line, but there are some of them non-devotees, some of them devotees. At the same time, some devotees asking, this side free dosas, but we have to say no to them because authority leader is there. She strictly said no for free dosa, and we have to serve the people who standing in the line. They may be non-devotees. So in that condition, I said no to so many devotees. So is it a abrad?
No, that's a perfect action. Because my spiritual master also says better to become servant of one rather than servant of many. If you try to become, like Yugal Kishore Prabhu tells me this, if you are servant of many, you are servant of none. And when we do something under the instruction, Krishna and Guru will protect us. Is it all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. But I felt bad also. Evening I came home and because they are all pure devotees, some of them. I called and I apologized.
Very
But
nice.
still,
You can say that I am bound by the instruction.
sure, Prabhuji.
I want you to come to my home and I'll feed you unlimited dosas. But here I'm bound by the instruction. Say in some way that it is not hurting at the same time. Devotees also understand.
Sure,
At the
Prabhuji.
same time, it is, it's a service assigned to me. Many times these like services where we are in the front line, in whichever angle, whether it is leading a dosa stall or in whichever way we are in front line, there will be many dangerous situations because dealing with devotees, some are happy. Devotees have different expectations from us. Some are happy, some are not happy. But Guru and Krishna protects us in those circumstances.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Harish. Okay. If I spoke anything wrong, please forgive me as a humble spirit. Vanchakalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for joining. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.